Today there are a lot of updates from the Kurakhove direction. Here the Russians launched a daring assault on Prechistivka, a tactically crucial settlement just 10 kilometers from Vuhledar. As the Russians are accumulating forces for a large push here, both sides are aware that further actions in this area will significantly alter the dynamics and complexity of the battle for Vuhledar. The Russian strategy aims to encircle Ukrainian forces in Vuhledar with coordinated assaults from the northeast and southwest. As mentioned in the previous report, the northern pincer is formed by Russian attacks toward the South Donbas coal mine and Vodiane, while the southern pincer is advancing through Prechistivka. The objective of the Russian operation in the southeast is to capture the village of Prechistivka. Securing this location would allow the Russians to establish a logistical hub and conceal equipment for future operations to the north. The capture of Prechistivka would enable Russian forces to launch an attack on the town of Novoukrainka. Simultaneously, Russian troops assaulting Vodiane would push westward. The final phase of this strategy involves a coordinated assault from Novoukrainka and Vodiane on Bogoyavlenka, aiming to complete the encirclement of Vuhledar. The Russian command had been preparing this offensive for some time, subjecting Ukrainian positions in Prechistivka to 3 months of intense bombardment using artillery, multi-barrel rocket systems, aviation and FPV drones. Russian officers believed that sustained firepower would suppress Ukrainian defenders and weaken their resistance. However, the prolonged period of shelling gave the Ukrainians enough time to recognize and anticipate the Russian plan. The overwhelming Russian firepower forced Ukrainian forces defending Prechistivka to withdraw north of the Kashlachach River. This tactical withdrawal allowed the Ukrainians to establish a more stable second line of defense along the Berestova Gully positioned in front of Novoukrainsk. By doing so, the Ukrainians were able to strengthen their defenses and prevent the Russians from using the town as a key position in their encirclement attempt. By withdrawing to fortified positions north of Prechistivka, Ukrainian forces effectively neutralized the strategic advantage of the Russian capture of the village. The Russians are now forced into grinding infantry battles in the trenches north of Prechistivka, facing the prospect of severe losses in the open fields between the village and Novoukrainsk. Without securing this high ground, their operation is bound to fail. If we look at the topographic map, we can see that the Ukrainian defensive line lies at a higher elevation than Prechistivka, which is situated in a gully. This elevated position provides the Ukrainians with complete fire control over the lowlands, giving them a significant tactical advantage. After months of intense bombardment and shelling of an almost empty Prechistivka, the Russians deployed an assault group consisting of up to 12 armored vehicles and around 100 stormtroopers. Contrary to their expectations, the battle for the village lasted only about 2 days. The main Ukrainian forces had already withdrawn to fortified positions to the north, leaving behind a minimal defensive force in Prechistivka. This small Ukrainian contingent was purposefully left to confront the Russian assault groups, inflict significant casualties, and then withdraw north to more fortified positions. Combat footage from the area shows a Russian drone flying over Prechistivka, recording the now abandoned Ukrainian positions, highlighting the short-lived Russian victory in the village. The original uncensored combat footage of all operations can be found on our Telegram channel through the link in the description. A Ukrainian fighter from the area reported that the Russians have significantly changed their approach to conducting offensive operations. He noted that the Russian command no longer recklessly throws infantry into casualty-heavy assaults across the front without a clear plan. Instead, they now carefully plan these high-casualty infantry attacks, focusing on the tactical importance of specific points along the front. The Russians have also begun to ensure they have the necessary reserves in place to launch more concentrated and deliberate assaults, indicating a shift towards more calculated and focused operations. He predicts that the Russians will attempt to methodically deploy infantry to assault Ukrainian positions north of Prechistivka. However, the Ukrainian command has also foreseen this possibility, and in response, they have carefully constructed strong fortifications in the area. These defensive lines are designed to slow down Russian advances, buying the Ukrainians crucial time to respond and adapt to the evolving situation. By doing so, they can reinforce different sectors of the front as needed, ensuring that they are prepared for any concentrated Russian assaults. Overall, the Ukrainians realized that Russians plan to launch a large-scale offensive, so they optimized their defense to meet it. The Ukrainian forces strategically withdrew from the lowlands to minimize losses, repositioning their main defense on elevated terrain to maximize their chances of repelling Russian assaults. By leveraging the heights and well-constructed fortifications, they gained a significant advantage over the approaching Russian forces. Holding this secondary defense line, centered around the Berestova Gully, allows the Ukrainians to synergize their defensive efforts and build a fortified network around the area. This approach ensures that reinforcements can arrive in time, strengthening their overall defense and making it increasingly difficult for Russian forces to break through. If you're against the invasion of Ukraine and you want to support the work that I am doing, consider making a purchase in the online store UA Supporter. Here you can find a lot of products with Ukrainian symbols to not only show your support for this channel, but also for Ukraine. The link to the online store is in the description. Thank you for watching this report, and I will see you in the next one.